When you ask a question of any of the guests, for example, on this program, what's it like? What's it like to be? What's it like being? There should probably be some parameters, but not here. That's why I can ask Debbie Gaby, what's it like being a teen mom at 18 years old in West Texas?
Holy cow. You know what? It was very difficult and challenges galore, but because I had a good, strong support system, my family were very supportive. In the early years, we were a close-knit family, and I think that that was what instilled in me the courageous moves that I had made. Being a young mother, my daughter was 2, I just woke up one day and I said, you know, this is not the life, a reality check. I do not want this life. I loaded my daughter in the car. Here we are in a little Toyota. Everything I owned went to that car, to the land of opportunity. Off to Houston, Texas we went.
But when you are a teen, having a baby out of wedlock, you're single, what did you decide you were going to do, you and your daughter? You were alone.
Well, we absolutely were alone, and I just knew that there was a better life for me. I didn't want to stay in the life I had. I was married to an alcoholic, and
was this the father of your daughter?
That was the father of my daughter, the only boyfriend I'd ever had. That's how they do it back in East Texas. But, you know, there's always room for you to decide to change, and there's nothing better than the old wise saying that Charles Darwin said. Charles Darwin says that it's not the strongest or the smartest of the species. It's the one that's most adaptable to change that will succeed. And that was something I had heard and read and believed in, and he was over 200 years old, so he had to be a lot smarter than I was.
Yeah, but weren't you kind of a troublemaker? You ran away from home when you were 13 years old, for crying out loud.
Well, that had a story to it, too. My family was retired. My husband, I didn't have a husband at 13, thank goodness, but my family business, they owned the Nash's Red Barn antique store. It burned to the ground. I'll never forget, Pat. I opened up the newspaper at a young, tender age of 13, and there on the front page was the Nash's Red Barn antique store, burns to the ground, no insurance. My family couldn't even afford to feed me, so I learned how to be a survivor. I went and found a family that would host me, let me live with them, had my own room, my own bed. All I had to do was babysit, and I had a nice, clean life for about a year. Then my family regrouped, and I do believe the family needs to stay together. So we all regrouped, they got a little stronger, and a little income, and I moved back home.
But when you were 18 and you found out you were pregnant, that moment when you discovered that you were pregnant and you hadn't planned on it, who did you tell first?
You don't want to tell anyone, you just kind of don't believe it yourself. So I confided in my mother, and she said, we can have this baby without Ricky. I mean, she wasn't real fond of Ricky. He was known as Budman, you know, so it was kind of cool when you were back in high school to have a boyfriend that had enough money to have a nice car and a whole ice chest full of beer. But I didn't even like beer, but, you know, it was kind of cool to have the status. But needless to say, whenever I found out I was pregnant, I wanted to get married. I mean, that was my only love.
What did
forever.
Ricky want?
I was the only one he ever wanted, so yes, we got married.
And Ricky said, now you're pregnant at 18 and I'm going to be a dad. I'm not going to be a bad boy anymore. Is that what he said?
No, he partied more without me, girlfriends galore and all of that. So I said, this is not the life I choose. And that's why I just decided there is always time to correct, and for you to do a about face, do a reality check, and know that you can have a better life. So that's what I did.
Did your daughter, Debbie Gaby, ever say, I wish that you had done it another way?
She never has. She's the sweetest thing. She's a little mini me, and she still lives in Houston. I have a grandson. My grandson is beautiful, and he wants to be an actor. Can you imagine that?
Keep making money off the mattress business. He'll need it.
I know. We'll have to support him forever.
But that transition, though, that is really the remarkable part of the story. Virtually penniless, you're on your own with a daughter, and you're starting all over again. How did you get to be Debbie Gaby, business icon here in the Valley of the Sun?
Well, I think my mother just instilled the confidence, the courageousness, and that you make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. I don't think anyone alive is flawless. So when me and my daughter moved to Houston, I just knew that people would help. And my gosh, the first jobs that I had, it was selling door-to-door knives with Costco, cold calling for Olin Mills. So I decided I needed to find something a little bit more substance than that. So I decided to go take real estate classes. I did. I decided I was going to work for Coldwell Banker. Well, I chose them. They didn't really choose me, so I keep being persistent, and I keep calling, and I go, you know, I've got my license now. I can go to work anytime. And you know what the broker said? Well, I wasn't going to hire you. I thought you were a little bit too fragile. And I said, well, just give me a chance. And she said, okay, I will. Well, then I had to prove myself, so I worked crazy hours, but I had to take my daughter with me. I really didn't have a babysitter. So most of the time I'm this realtor coming to get listings, and I have this baby. They must have felt sorry for me. I don't really know.
And you went from real estate to Sleep America, and it's a beautiful love story. Listen, we have absolutely no time, but I'm going to steal some. Give a young lady a little advice from your personal experience if she finds herself right now, today, in the same situation.
You know, take time. Sleep on it, number one. Sleep on it because you do not have to live the life. If you've made mistakes, there's always, always opportunities to change.
Whatever happened to Ricky?
He went in and out of jail for many DUIs and spent most of his life in jail.
Well, I'm glad that yours is a happy ending.
Thank you.
Debbie Gaby, yeah, she's the Sleep America person that you see on TV and hear on the radio, but she's also the lady who publicly says, hey, you know what? I was pregnant when I was 18 years old, and this is my story. And you heard it on What's It Like on KTAR.com.